I'm not joking when I tell you this is probably my most highly anticipated and sought after tarot deck. Why? I have no idea, but from the moment I saw this deck in use online from another tarot reader, I knew that I had to order it and find a way to get it. Now, normally when this happens, it's not that hard. You Google the deck, you find somewhere that sells it, you order it. But in this case, the deck was actually out of print. And if you know anything about tarot decks, you know that once they go out of print, typically the cost skyrockets and they can become incredibly difficult to find. So I did what any 21st century gal would do, and I messaged the deck creator over on Instagram and said, hey, do you have plans to restock this deck anytime? They got back to me, were super sweet, and said that they were actually working on another deck right now, so they didn't really know when this deck was going to come back or if and when it would. So sad me decided to follow them and really keep up with this deck to see if it would come back at any point or if I was able to find a version of it at any point. But within a few months, I actually got a message back from the deck creators telling me that they were launching the second edition of the deck and it was available now. So I pre-ordered that thing as quickly as I could, and here we are with the second edition of the Wake Me Up Tarot. I'm not somebody who cares too much about first edition, second edition. I'm not really a true collector in that sense. If I like the deck, I want the deck in any version it comes in. So I was super happy to be able to receive this second edition of the Wake Me Up Tarot. And as you can see from the imagery, it is just so beautiful. It's whimsical, it's contemporary, it's colorful. It's truly every single thing that I want in a tarot deck, so I'm so excited to have this one in my collection. For some reason, I just feel like this imagery in particular really evokes my intuition, and I feel so inspired by the colors and just the messages and the depiction of all the cards. Even this King of Cups, I just absolutely adore what they've done with these cards. I feel like they're so easy to understand, they're so intuitive, and they're really inspiring. They do still follow the typical Rider-Waite system, but they really do give a lot and elevate the typical Rider-Waite and definitely modernize it. For my personal tarot readings, I find that this kind of modernized version of the Rider-Waite are my favorite decks to work with. I just love being able to see experiences that myself and people I'm reading for are truly actually going through. Having symbols like current technology and jobs and gender and diversity just makes it so much easier for me to give a good reading and really pick up on messages that are current and a lot more in depth than I find I get from the standard or classic Rider-Waite deck. Which really makes sense when you think about it. I mean, the classic Rider-Waite is a very old deck with very medieval, older systems. And so when we see these creators making these modernized versions, it makes sense that they would be a lot easier to read with and a lot easier to see yourself and your own situation in the cards. Beyond the modernization, I just think that the depictions and the illustrations that this creator has chosen for these cards is impeccable. Every so often you get a deck where every single card you're like, yes, this is exactly what I think of when I see this card. It makes perfect sense to me and I love it. There are so many decks that I look at where I maybe agree with most of them, but maybe there's one or two cards where I kind of question the creative decision, or I don't know, maybe something about it just doesn't personally align with me 100%, which is totally okay. We're all unique and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the deck whatsoever. But every so often there's a deck like this one where I just feel like I totally vibe with every single choice creatively they've made with the deck. And honestly, what more can you want in a tarot deck? If you're interested in checking out this deck, I will have it linked below. Of course, this video is not sponsored. I just love it.